What you just watched was a standoff between the Trump-supporting protesters who are demanding lifting the stay-at-home orders and healthcare workers who staged a counter-protest to what you're seeing with all of these little protests that are popping up all throughout the country. Now, this happened in Denver, Colorado. And what you heard was this woman telling this healthcare worker, someone who is risking his life on a daily basis to keep people alive, that he should go to China if he wants to be a communist. How wanting to keep people alive ends up being twisted into communism is kind of incredible. But this is the type of stuff we're seeing all throughout the country right now. People who are not following through with stay-at-home orders, they're not keeping themselves safe, they're not keeping their families safe. In many cases, they're showing up with firearms. And these healthcare workers are like, no, we're going to go ahead and block these protesters by standing in front of these cars at the intersection. I mean, considering this country's very dark recent history with people, counter-protesters getting run over, it's just so incredibly brave to do this. But even if he hadn't done this, it's brave that he puts his life on the line to keep people alive in the middle of a pandemic. And he wasn't the only one. He was joined by a female colleague as well.
Yeah, two wonderful nurses there. So let's note a couple of ironies here. She mentions China, but actually he looks like the protester from Tiananmen Square who was in favor of democracy. And she looks like she's operating the tank like the communist Chinese were at the time. Another irony is a guy meaning to do well right there, tapping him on the arm. Don't do that. That's against social distancing rules. He meant well. He was trying to support him, but don't touch each other like that at this point, okay?
And wear a mask. For God's sake, just wear a mask. Wear a mask.
There's a big outbreak in Denver. You got to be wearing masks and gloves no matter where you're going. So anyway, back to the woman who does not mean well. I know she keeps saying land of the free, and I can't see if there's an of and a the written lightly on that poster. All I can see is, oh, there is, okay.
Yeah.
Because all I can see is land free. Really? Where? Where do you go? Land free. Me free, you no free, you communist. Why don't you go to China and support bankers? I don't know. We're making things up about communism, so why not just say absurd things like that?
You know, the thing that's crazy.
She didn't lie about bankers. Yes.
She's a caricature, right? And these people exist. These caricatures exist. I mean, it's like everything from the shirt to the ignorance to the sign. It's all so short-sighted. It's all so, and I'm going to say it's ignorant, right? You're turning this healthcare worker, this nurse, into your enemy because, I mean, look, there are people, first of all, who have no choice but to work in this pandemic, right? Their job is essential, and we should be thanking them. We should be showing them our gratitude. Instead, she's sitting in her car with a stupid sign, yelling at someone who's probably already burnt out, overworked, stressed. And again, he's putting his health on the line to do his job. And you have this moron, yelling at him like this. And she's being manipulated. That's the truth. All these protesters, while I think for some of them, their frustration and their anger and their desperation is legitimate, they want to be able to go back to work and make money and provide for their families. That desperation is being manipulated by the very people who couldn't care less if they lived or died. And I just wish there was a way to get through to them, right? But we have to fight back against all of this propaganda. The most watched cable news channel is Fox. And what have they been doing throughout this pandemic? They're also egging these protesters on. It's disgusting.
Healthcare professionals in this country have been absolute heroes. In a lot of places, including in Ohio right now, we have a person who works at TYT whose mom works at a hospital in Ohio. Says, oh, no, they can't. None of the staff can be tested. There's not enough tests. So, and we've heard the stories in the past of not enough masks. So asking nurses to go in, sometimes doctors as well, without masks to treat patients, it's unconscionable. And it's hard to tell from that video the exact traffic situation there. So it's hard to tell if it was just symbolic what the nurses were doing there, or if it was also physical and literal, because some of these protesters are blocking entrances into hospitals, which, I mean, it doesn't get any more counterproductive than that, let alone the spittle that she's throwing into the air without a mask, and God knows who's that's going to land on. But really, most importantly, blocking the entrance to the hospitals, at least in one instance. And if that's what was going on here, and the nurses put their bodies in the way to make sure that those entrances are not blocked, it's an extra level of heroic service, and they pay nurses more.
I want to just go to one of the incredible photos that was taken of this counter protest. Photojournalist Allison McLaren took this picture. And just, I want to show it because it really does emphasize the point you just made, Cenk. Here you have the nurse standing in the street, right, in his counter protest. And there's a protester wearing a Bulls jersey yelling at him to his face. The protester yelling at him isn't wearing a mask. I mean, these people, again, it's manipulation, it's ignorance, and it's propaganda that feels impossible to counter, right? Because it's just so powerful. Like the messaging from Fox News, the messaging from Trump himself is a giant obstacle in keeping people safe and actually fighting this pandemic in an efficient way. It's just, I don't know, it feels helpless. I feel helpless and hopeless right now when I see stuff like this.
Look, I always go back to, we won with younger generations. 70% of under 45-year-olds in Democratic primaries voted for Bernie Sanders and for progressives. It's a matter of time before progressives run the country, and we will. There's almost no question about that. It's already baked in, and it's partly because of online shows, because that's where young people get their news. And so I'm so thrilled that the establishment was stupid enough not to pay attention to it. And so that's our hope. But yes, Anna, for the people who watch Fox News, they've been brainwashed, and it in a sense, it kind of is hopeless reaching them, because they're not going to watch online news. And even if they watch mainstream media, there's barely pushback. They're afraid to challenge the right wing, but they're not even watching them. I just keep going back to, people I know that Muslim immigrants who watch Fox News and then voted for Trump. It's total brainwashing. So those folks, they're doing things against their own interests, both from a health perspective, but also from an economic perspective. As Dr. Fauci explained, we're all going to stay indoors longer if you keep going out prematurely, and that's going to hurt the economy more, and you're going to make less money, and you're going to be unemployed longer. You're hurting yourself in every way, shape, and form. But conservative Facebook groups, Fox News, and Trump told you otherwise. And so it's nearly impossible to reach that 30% of Republicans.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.